Dear God, Adrian, are you all right?
I'm not going to make it.
How did you get impaled by a kukri?
Don't worry about it. I don't know. Freak accident.
It doesn't look that bad. I could probably patch it.
I'm not going to make it all the way back to Earth. You got to go. You got to leave me.
No, I think I can get you home.
I'm not going to make it all the way back to Earth. You got to leave me.
But a Mars?
We're only halfway through the mission. You've got to go. It's fine. I'll be the first person who died on Mars.
I'll miss you.
I know. You gotta go. You gotta go. Christ, I thought they'd never leave. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with this week's book review. Dalton, what did we get this week?
We went pop lit. This may be the most recent novel we've ever read. This is The Martian. Andy Weir?
Andy Weir, I think.
We're going to go with Weir. That sounds right to me.
This is another one of Dalton's picks.
Yes, it is. I fully hope you're going to just completely destroy it.
I don't know that I'll destroy it in the review, but
I had a good run with Of Mice and Men, so I'm going to take this one that maybe it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, 3 good things, 3 bad things.
Yeah.
What do you think?
3 good things. My first good thing is we have a new hard sci-fi writer.
Okay. All right.
He seems established. 2, the writing is pretty crisp. 3, Weir does not feel overmatched.
Okay. I have that this is a self-publishing success story. I think that needs to be appreciated. The man published this self-published originally, and then it was picked up by a publisher. That's the dream right there. Accuracy of the research, that math is correct, that is ridiculous. My brain doesn't work with numbers, so I'm completely impressed by how he did that. And since we've been on the theme of loneliness lately, how much more lonely can you get? And still keep it interesting.
And I think we'll have some space to work there.
It's castaway in space. It's beautiful.
3 bad things.
Okay.
My first, this is extremely monotonous.
Yes.
This is problem, math, answer. Problem, math,
yes.
answer.
Yes.
I would have liked more of the crew and less of the NASA.
Okay.
3, this novel could easily be 50 pages shorter and lose nothing. This is a 435-page book.
This is a long read. It is.
So you're welcome. I suffered through this for a week.
I do have to agree with you with your first bad thing. Sometimes I feel like I work for NASA when I'm reading this. So much math, so much technical language, you just glaze over it most of the time. It's very simple writing. I mean, this is not poetic literature. This is not just romantic. You find little bits and pieces everywhere. It's very simple, very straightforward writing. I also have it's a little unbelievable at times.
Right.
Mark Watney is the man who cannot die.
Right.
So.
Almost like Brad Pitt in World War Z.
Yes. You can't kill him.
Right.
So, favorite quote?
Yeah. I have a character moment.
There's a lot of character moments in this. Watney is a great character for that because of the humor.
There's a lot of character moments. There's not very much outstanding writing.
Simple writing again. I'll take it.
253. If I can ever prove it was you, I'll find a way to fire you for it, Teddy warned. Sure, Mitch shrugged. But if I wasn't willing to take risks to save lives, he thought about it for a moment. Well, I guess I'd be you. I think that's a nice little turn in what it takes to do what they're doing. Because there's a lot of math going on.
Yes.
And not a lot, like, when you're talking about a 4% risk of failure for that final mission, and everyone was up in arms that there's a 4% risk of failure, there's a 96% chance of winning, and if you don't win, it's absolute catastrophe.
And we're going to have to talk a little bit about the human aspect of this.
Right.
And the decisions that these characters had to have made, and had this been a real-life story, that would have been rough. It really would have been rough.
I should get dressed before we start recording.
That's unnecessary, really. Actually, views have never been higher because of it. So I have here...
my two-piece next time.
This is Watney speaking to Control. Good. Keep us posted on any mechanical or electronic problems. By the way, the name of the probe we're sending is Iris, named after the Greek goddess who traveled the heavens with the speed of wind. She's also the goddess of rainbows. Watney. Gay probe coming to save me. Got it.
Got it.
I love it. Because how do you keep this interesting? How do you keep a man suffering on Mars for how many days? Do you know off the top of your head? How many sols?
540, or 49, I think.
A lot of time. How do you keep that man interesting? 687. Mission day.
Well, that's
687.
mission day.
Yes.
That was different than Sol.
Sol.
The Sol was,
And
I think, 549.
Regardless, how do you keep this interesting the whole time?
Right. And see, that 549. That leads me into my first talking point, is I've mentioned something on the channel before called irreducible rascality.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Briefly?
Basically, people wonder how great Hemingway would have been had he not offed himself, but the character faults which allowed him to say, hey, shooting myself with a 12 gauge right now would be a great idea, are the same which motivated him to his greatness.
Okay.
Mark Watney might be the ultimate character to point to when talking about irreducible rascality, because if his rascality was not there, his prickishness was not there, this guy would not have survived 549 days alone on Mars.
Okay. And when we first started just hashing out what we're going to talk about for this video, I said, oh, by the way, it's nice to read about you on Mars, Adrian. And you hashed back, this isn't me, this is you.
And then it took us some time to realize that this character's the two of us had a baby.
Mark Watney is our love child.
I am a prick, but Dalton is sort of melodramatic from time to time. Dalton's the guy that adds the shit on the end of, hey, I'm fucked, shit, right?
I think you're also the man who picks himself up wounded and crippled and carries on, and I'm the guy like, I can grow potatoes, I'll be all right up here, it's okay. Anyway, so let's ask this question. Can we change the end of this novel? Can Mark Watney die?
Here's the thing. I wasn't sure. This is 435 pages in the novelized format that I have. Up until about 405, I wasn't sure whether I wanted him to survive or not for the literature aspect of the novel.
Okay.
Right? If he survives all of that garbage and makes it back, sure, it's a happy tale.
Yes.
But it's a happy tale where there should have been none, right?
Yes.
If he dies, I just read a book full of math problems for nothing.
Yes.
So I was not even rooting for him until about 10 pages before he made it there.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I really am not sure.
I almost always say you should have killed him.
Right.
The Hunger Games, you should have killed one of them. Every time we talk, well, he should have died. Of Mice and Men, hey, he should have offed himself after he killed the other one. It's all right. But I think this piece requires Mark to come home. It's that full conclusion. It gives you a little bit of relief for the character's sake. And like you said, it feels like you've been rewarded with something. After you've read a book of math problems, you've been rewarded. However, talking the sense of loneliness, because loneliness has been our theme for the last, 28 years.
30.
If Mark Watney dies, and the shuttle goes by, and they just see dead Mark, after everything, that's kind of beautiful.
Or if they collect his corpse. Right.
Or if they collect his corpse, or he gets on the shuttle, everything goes well, but then the whole thing goes wrong and they all die.
Which we never get to that point. Maybe that happens.
That heroic ending where they died trying to save one of them.
Here's the Hemingway ending I would have wanted.
Okay. Hemingway this.
They mismath something on the return journey, and they realize it after Watney's on the ship.
Ooh.
They have everything to return but the food.
Yes.
Now all of them die together.
Yes.
And if you had gotten more time, with the crew versus NASA, you would understand how much Watney meant to them, which you get little snippets of, but you don't really feel it, right? You don't feel a lot in this novel, and I think that goes back to the fact that Weir is not as practiced a writer.
Okay. I think I do agree with you saying that we could have used more of the crew. The way I see it is the crew is the humanistic approach to this. NASA is the scientific approach.
But Watney's the scientific
Mark
approach.
Watney is the combination.
Right.
You get both.
But how much more NASA do we have than the crew?
We don't need more NASA. This book was made for someone who graduated with a degree in science.
Well, here's what this book feels like.
Okay.
This book feels like you open up your advanced algebra book, you read a word problem, you flip to the back, you read the answer. You flip back, you read another problem, you flip to the back, you read an answer. You flip back, you read another problem, you flip back and you read another answer, all of a sudden something else went wrong. Look, it's fine the first 3 or 4 times it happens. I get it. Mars is trying to kill the Martian.
Yes.
We don't need it every time it happens. Name the problem that meant the most to you as a reader, that you found most interesting. Which one of these obstacles did you read and think, I really want to see how he gets around this?
And see, that's the thing. When I'm trying to come up with a single one issue, it seems to be a multiple layer issue. The hab exploding on him, essentially, with the gas leak from the propane, the rocket fuel condenser, the O2. That was the one where I'm like, he's dead, and I'm going to read about nothing the rest of the book.
But there's 360 pages.
Yes. And that's where it comes to the point where I say it feels unbelievable.
Well, let me finish this point first. For me, the one problem I wanted to see how he overcame was the food. Turns out, shit potatoes. But after that,
he loses.
And we get the explosion, and we get he's got to modify the MAV that he's got. He's got to get to the other MAV. The car he's in breaks down. Everything goes wrong. We don't need all of that. Why don't we have more of the crew, less of the problems? Why don't we have more character moments with Watney? Watney thinking about, it doesn't appear that Watney has a family at home, right? He's just got his parents.
Okay.
Show why.
Find out more about the man.
Right. Everyone else on the ship, if I'm remembering correctly, everyone else on the ship had a significant other at home, right? They all talked to other people.
The love interest. Beck and
not Vogel. Martinez?
Martinez. I think you're right there.
See, and that's part of the problem. We don't even get those storylines.
And that is a little side story that I would have loved to hear more about.
Right.
And that's the crew is, again, the human approach to this.
Yes.
And we don't get that full completion because there is the little love interest. There's the commander's grief for being the one who made the decision to leave a living crew member behind.
Right.
And it's touched on, and it's so interesting, and it's forgotten.
Right.
Because it's math time.
And these things are things that have never happened, right?
Yes.
No one's ever left someone on Mars before.
Exactly. And that's what makes this, like you said, hard sci-fi.
Right.
This is science fiction at its finest, with all the math.
Right.
So it is a little difficult to read at times, and it does get monotonous. And I really think it stretches the truth so much sometimes that it's unbelievable. He, like you said, he survived this explosion with the O2 condenser. He survived all of his food, just all the shit potatoes he grew. He survived going MAV to MAV. He survived the dust storms. He got lucky with the dust storms. Mark Watney is the invincible man.
Right.
Everything that happens to him, he survives. I want a little more pain and suffering from him.
Yeah, and that's another thing. He was exploded on.
Yes.
And he just sort of woke up.
Yes.
He didn't have a cut.
And he patched things up. And he just went on.
Along those lines, you mentioned some of the science that you were questioning. How would he not be injured? One thing I don't understand, and maybe I'm wrong about this, he mentioned the ammonia aspects of the HAB, right? the air smelled like ammonia. Well, the air smells like ammonia because it is ammonia, right? I'm fairly positive ammonia eats at your lungs.
Okay.
Doesn't it? So if that is in
yeah.
the very air that you're breathing, I don't think you get through that. B, on Saul 11, he says, I wonder how the Cubs are doing. Saul 16 is Thanksgiving.
Is this a baseball thing? Because I'm not following.
I don't think the Cubs are playing in mid-November.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And personally, that didn't click with me. I don't watch baseball. But maybe that's one of the little errors that comes with a self-published novel.
Well, and when you're writing a 435-page
Nobody checks
novel, well, there's something going to go wrong. You're going to mention something that just isn't out there. But
now, Loneliness on Mars. If we had another character who was left behind, does it change this novel completely?
It does, and that goes back to my irreducible rascality.
It's critical that it is Mark Watney.
Out of the people who were on that ship, it had to be Mark Watney.
Okay.
Which leads me to believe that he was the first character that Weir came up with, right?
A good possibility. I'd say if you were coming up with this novel, that would be your primary character.
And this is obviously the character that Weir sees himself as.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about Weir. I've never heard him speak. I've never read an interview. But that's a bold statement, really.
And I'm going to throw it out there and not feel guilty about it because of the way the novel goes. Do you kill yourself in the novel? I do.
I think yes.
But
I
guess
think
who
yes.
doesn't?
Weir.
The indie published sci-fi.
Oh, the indie published sci-fi guy.
I'm just saying. I have nothing against people who indie publish. I'm just saying. Like it's not. Okay. Whatever. Well, I'm just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there?
Throwing it out.
Indie publishing.
Yeah.
We never speak about that. What are your actual thoughts on indie publishing and indie writing?
Look, the entire publishing world used to be indie publishing.
Yes.
The publications as we know them is about the last 80 or so years that publishing houses have been what they are today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not against it.
So is this a new movement in literature? Because this is the independently published novel that he put up there. He's like, well, we'll see. It skyrockets. It gets published legitimately or more formally, however you want, traditionally. Matt Damon calls and he's like, hey, movie time. Andy Weir never has to work again.
No, and that's one of my points, is that Andy Weir is now a hard sci-fi writer.
Yes.
Andy Weir used to be, I think he said, the IT guy. Isn't that what his little bio says in the back of the book?
I didn't read the
He was an
back of
IT
the
guy
bio.
someplace or something. No, he's a writer now.
Yes.
He's whatever he wants to be.
So, unrealistic opportunity, obviously. I mean, if you put something on, you can't expect this level of success. But is that the next step for literature? Is to say independent publishing is going to be more prominent?
It has to, because Stephen King will never die.
Stephen King will never die. The written novel, the typed novel, the physical book is a dying art form, whether you like it or not. The electronic book has taken so much from the physical book. I think independent publishing is necessary.
I'm on Mars right now. I'm not listening.
Excuse me. I prefer a book, a tangible book. I can turn the pages, I can highlight, I can write. But convenience.
When I say that this is the future of literature, what I mean is everything Stephen King decides to put on his publisher's desk will be published.
Yes.
Everything Chuck Palahniuk decides to put on his publisher's desk will be published.
Yes.
Where agents will be making their money now is not cold calling people from prestigious colleges that have their degree now. It will be from scouring internet indie published sites and finding things.
This is now establishing authority before you have it.
Well, it's being able to get your name and your game out there.
Fair enough.
Okay, this is, if we're going to go back to baseball, this is the minor leagues.
Okay.
And I don't mean to demean the minor leagues, and I don't mean to demean indie publishing. If you were self-publishing, that's you playing in AA, baby. And all it takes is one scout to see you.
That's actually a really good analogy. I like it. It's beautiful.
Let's see here. You have anything else?
What more would you like to tell me is wrong with this book?
It's just boring.
It is a little boring, yes. It is math heavy, it's science heavy, and like I said, you glaze over it. But the story itself.
One thing I found interesting was how important it was to him to, and I find this on a literature level, how important it was to him to take along the bedroom so that he could stand at full height, so that he could be a man on Mars, right?
Okay.
Standing at your full height, and I don't mean this in gender terms, I mean this in evolutionary terms, right? What would he have been if he were crouching all the time? He would have resembled
It's more
ancestors.
animalistic.
Right,
Yes.
he would have resembled our ancestors. Another point I have, it's amazing the interest in science and NASA that this piece of art caused, right?
Okay.
So while we were on YouTube, take that and blow it out your ass, Thunder. Also, in On Writing, Stephen King says that writing is the subtlest form of telepathy that there is, right? You are using your mind to communicate
With someone else.
with someone else's mind.
All right.
I think that this book is a very good example of how it is also a form of mind control. How much different do you feel when you're reading Fight Club versus Harry Potter?
Okay.
You feel very different.
I agree.
What about when you're reading a religious text? You feel very different. Now, I will give this book full credit for getting me back into a strategic term of living. You start reading this and you get back into, you know what, I think I'm gonna prepare my meals for the week.
I'm gonna meal prep 50 potatoes.
You change little things about
Okay.
what you've done. You start thinking strategically. That is one of the subtle mind control aspects of science fiction, especially hard science fiction.
Okay.
Right?
Just very briefly here, this was published in a time where NASA is not what it used to be.
Right.
We are beyond the space race. It's just a thing now. Nobody really pays much attention to NASA, to be honest. But now there seems to be more interest. You mentioned that briefly.
Time magazine just came out with the piece about the guy who was in space
the astronaut who just returned, he was in space for a year. Now, we're looking at the concept of habitable life on Mars.
Right.
And sending humans to Mars. Can we say that this piece sparked a little bit of that interest? I mean, obviously, they would have been working this for a long time. But is this the science fiction piece of our generation that when we read this 6 years from now, we're going to be like, it's a cute story. It's already happened.
I don't know that this book will be to thank for that, if that's what you're asking. But I think, like I said, do you know who Thunderfoot is?
I don't know who Thunderfoot is.
Thunderfoot's this, he does YouTube videos. I like him, but he's often cracking on people who have liberal arts degrees because he attacks people like Anita Sarkeesian.
Okay.
For doing the things that Anita Sarkeesian does. And this is a very good example of how art is what influences public opinion. Public opinion feeds back into not art, but those things that art is about.
Okay.
So now that we have things like, and I'll do something meta here, okay? Dan Brown and the Da Vinci Code. Now, right now, we have a Da Vinci exhibit going through Kansas City. That novel sparked a reinterest in Da Vinci's work.
Okay.
So the art hit public opinion flooded back on Da Vinci. Here, the art hit public opinion's flooding back onto the Martian. Or Mars. Space travel.
So I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in future endeavors in the scientific community. I'm not a scientist. We both have art degrees. But I think if you were you have a degree in science, and you were a reader, this would appeal to you. What would you suggest to be read after reading The Martian?
If you enjoyed The Martian, I think that you will very much enjoy The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. It is humankind, it is space, it is a race against the clock, It is a lot of those things which you enjoyed in this novel, I'm assuming, but it is done, I will say, I don't. If Andy were here right now, I would tell him he is not the author that Michael Crichton is.
Okay.
So I'm not afraid to say that. It is better written. Michael Crichton is Michael Crichton and will always be Michael Crichton for a reason. What about you?
I think that's a fine suggestion. Mine would be Ender's Game, Orson Scott Card.
Okay.
Less scientific, more fantasy, science fiction, enjoyable nonetheless, award-winning science fiction novel, sparked a lot of interest, became a huge ongoing series because you can't let a sci-fi novel die. I think it would be an enjoyable read if you're into the whole space thing at this point in time, and try to give that one a go.
Okay.
Also made into a movie recently.
Really?
So yeah, Harrison Ford's in it, I think.
Oh, okay.
So,
I got you.
You got that going for you. What would you give The Martian, though, rating-wise?
I would rate The Martian 70 shit potatoes out of 100.
70 shit potatoes out of 100. I'm going to overvote you this time. I never go higher than you, 75 potatoes.
Really? You would only give it 75?
Yes.
And you were so excited to read it.
I like it. It's good, but it's not great.
You only gave it 75 shit potatoes, and you wanted to read it for the second time in the same calendar year.
I read it last calendar year.
Within the same 12 months?
Yes.
You wanted to read it twice within the same 12 months,
yes,
despite the fact that you gave it a 75 rating.
I think it's a good novel.
You know what? Go take an algebra class instead.
I can't do math. I'm horrible at it.
Well,
but here's what's important about this. This is current literature. We never do current literature.
True.
We have no idea what's going on in the literary world right now.
That's true.
We are the guys from 30 years ago.
If you have any websites that are, like I mentioned last week with the 6 websites for writers.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Science Daily. If there's anything like that with literature, let me know about it.
I go to the bookstore and I see the bestsellers. I'm like, I saw this.
Yeah. I want to know who's writing something right now that they know about. I want to know who's getting published in 6 months. I have no idea where to find that information.
Be nice to know.
Yeah.
Most importantly, though, if you do enjoy what we're saying and you disagree with us and you hate us, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on this video.
Make absolutely sure that you follow us on Twitter at StripCover, and I'm at Adrian anyway. Dalton's at the Dalton. I almost got away with it again.
I hate you so much.
We are on Facebook.
Once it was pointed out last week, I noticed it in every video I edited. You bastard.
We are on Facebook at StripCoverLit.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're done filming.
Big week.
It was a big week. It was a good week.
Good review.
Kind of hungry though. You got anything to eat that's like not soup?
I got some potatoes.
Where'd you get potatoes?
Don't think about it.
You got a lot of potatoes.
A lot
there.
of potatoes.
Do you cook them, or is this like an Adrian thing?
Well, don't think about it.
Yeah, it's actually not bad. That's really good. Are these like locally grown?
Something like that.
They kind of have like a nutty taste to them, like a really organic nutty. That's good.
Yeah.
Where'd you get these?
Don't think about it.
You grew them yourself?
Something like that.